There was a time when car chases felt dangerous. Not polished, not perfect, just real cars, real roads, and real people taking real risks. The 1970s was the peak of it. Directors didn't hide behind computer effects. If a car jumped a bridge, it actually jumped a bridge. If it crashed, that was a real wrecked car. And the stunt drivers, they weren't just good, they were fearless. Today, we're looking back at 12 of the greatest car chases from that era, and honestly, no one's ever going to film them like this again. Number 1. The French Connection, 1971. This chase didn't just make movie history, it rewrote the rulebook. In the film, Gene Hackman plays Detective Popeye Doyle, a relentless New York cop obsessed with busting a heroin smuggling ring. The most famous scene has him chasing an elevated train through the streets of Brooklyn in a brown 1971 Pontiac Le Mans. The way it was filmed? Borderline reckless. Director William Friedkin wanted it to feel real, dangerous, unpredictable, raw. So they didn't close the streets. No city permits, no warning signs. Just stunt driver Bill Hickman behind the wheel and Friedkin himself operating the camera from the back seat. They went flat out, up to 90 miles per hour, down busy stretches of Stillwell Avenue under the BMT West End line. Other drivers weren't extras. They were regular New Yorkers going about their day, completely unaware they were in a movie. Hickman clipped a real car at one point. That stayed in the final cut. The train operator in the movie? Also a real motorman. Told to keep driving at normal speed while Doyle tries to beat him block by block. The elevated train's hijacking sequence, where the bad guy shoots a transit cop and takes control, was inspired by a real 1960 subway incident Friedkin read about in the news. In interviews and documentaries like The Poughkeepsie Shuffle and William Friedkin, Exorcist of the Holy, Friedkin admits the scene was shot in just 5 hours on a cold January morning. The crew had one camera, no official stunt coordination, and a radio spotter a few blocks ahead calling out traffic patterns. It was a grab it before the cops show up situation. The end result is shaky, chaotic, and nerve-wracking because it is. The camera shakes because it's actually bouncing around in a car. The near misses are real near misses. The pedestrians you see, they didn't sign releases, they were just there. To this day, stunt drivers and filmmakers still call The French Connection the gold standard for a gritty urban chase. Not because it was the safest, because it was the realest. Number 2. Vanishing Point, 1971. A white 1970 Dodge Challenger RT 440 Magnum, endless desert highways, and a man named Kowalski trying to deliver the car from Denver to San Francisco in under 15 hours. The chase is the whole movie. Kowalski outruns police through Utah, Nevada, and Colorado. The driving feels reckless but smooth because stuntman Kerry Lofton kept it real. No undercranking, no fake speed-ups. Director Richard C. Sarafian wanted the film to feel like a mix of road movie and existential trip, so they shot wide, low, and fast. In documentaries like Vanishing Point Remastered, Sarafian admitted some stunts were improvised, like blasting past the 2 cops at the Nevada border, which was shot with real state troopers in on the gag. The Challenger was so abused during filming that Chrysler sent multiple cars, some with automatic transmissions for certain shots, and others with manuals for burnout scenes. The desert's heat warped brake pads and cooked transmissions. But the raw feel of the movie comes from those real-world limitations. Number 3. Bullitt, 1968. Steve McQueen's Mustang GT390 Fastback chasing a black Dodge Charger RT through San Francisco. It's not a 70s movie, but it set the tone for every chase that followed. The Charger's stunt driver? Bill Hickman? Yep, the same guy from The French Connection. The sequence was shot over 3 weeks with actual high-speed runs up to 110 miles per hour. The hill jumps weren't ramps, they were just San Francisco's natural streets. Cars actually bottomed out so hard, they lost hubcaps mid-shot. You can see them fly off in the film. In The Cutting Edge, the magic of movie editing, McQueen's team revealed they used 2 Mustangs and 2 Chargers, swapping them between shots depending on damage. By the final takes, The Charger's front grille was warped from repeated landings. No music plays during the chase, just engine roars, tire squeals, and the city echoing back. It's why it still feels alive. Number 4. Gone in 60 Seconds, 1974. H.B. Halicki didn't just make Gone in 60 Seconds, he was Gone in 60 Seconds. He wrote it, directed it, produced it, starred in it, and then proceeded to smash 93 cars to pieces while filming. The whole movie builds to a 40-minute final chase through Long Beach, still one of the longest in cinema history. The star car, a 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1, nicknamed Eleanor, became the first car ever to receive an official co-starring credit in a movie. Halicki's approach was pure old-school stunt work. No controlled backlot sets, no studio insurance safety nets. They filmed in active traffic. If you see a driver slam their brakes or swerve out of the way, that's a real person just trying to avoid getting hit. Halicki used friends in the police department to temporarily block intersections, often for just a couple of minutes, so he could blast through at full speed. And he did the stunts himself. No doubles. During one take, Halicki slammed Eleanor into a lamppost at high speed, broke several ribs, and still finished the scene before going to the hospital. In the behind-the-scene feature, The Junkman's Cut, his crew recalled paying locals $25 if their cars were accidentally hit. Because, yes, sometimes background traffic got tagged for real. Now compare that to the 2000 remake. The Nicolas Cage version had a budget of over $90 million, more than 200 times larger than Halicki's original. Every major stunt was carefully choreographed, streets were locked down, and Eleanor was now a custom 1967 Shelby GT500 clone. In the remake, many of the crashes were simulated or enhanced with CGI, especially in the big bridge jump scene. The chase was cut into short, rapid edits, more style, less danger. It looked slick, but it didn't feel the same. The 1974 version is messy, unpredictable, and a little dangerous to watch, because it really was. The remake is polished entertainment. The original is barely controlled chaos. And that's why Halicki's film still stands out. It's not just a chase scene, it's a piece of guerrilla filmmaking where you can feel the risk in every frame. Number 5. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, 1974. Peter Fonda and Susan George in a 1969 Dodge Charger RT440 chased by Vic Morrow's police force. They hit 100 miles per hour on real country roads, weaving through bridges and narrow 2-lane blacktops. Director John Huff shot most of it with in-car mounts, so you feel the G-forces. The famous bridge pass, where the Charger threads between two oncoming cars, wasn't a special effect. It was timed by stunt coordinator Kerry Lofton to within inches. In Stunts Unlimited interviews, Lofton called it one of the closest near misses of his career. The ending shocked audiences. It cuts abruptly to a crash without warning, something studio execs fought, but Huff refused to change. Today, it's considered one of the boldest chase endings ever filmed. Number 6. The 7-Ups, 1973. Roy Scheider in a Pontiac Le Mans chasing Bill Hickman's Pontiac Ventura through New York. Director Philip D'Antoni, fresh off producing Bullitt and The French Connection, told Hickman, "Make it real, but make it hurt." The result is 8 minutes of hard hits, curb jumps, and near collisions. Many background drivers were unaware they were in a film, so reactions are genuine. In the 7-Up's commentary, Scheider recalled one taxi driver chasing the film crew afterward, thinking it was a real pursuit. The finale, when Hickman's car slams into the back of a truck, is pure impact. No dummies, no miniatures. The sound you hear is exactly what it sounded like that day. Number 7. Smokey and the Bandit, 1977. Burt Reynolds' black and gold Pontiac Trans Am blasting past Sheriff Buford T. Justice's endless convoy of police cars wasn't just a great chase. It was a box office phenomenon. Directed by Hal Needham, a former stuntman, the film mixed comedy, charm, and real-deal stunt driving. Most of the Trans Am jumps were one-take shots because the cars rarely survived the landings. Pontiac sent 4 cars for filming. 2 were wrecked outright. 1 was used just for glamour shots, and the last was held together with duct tape and prayer by the final scenes. Needham's stunt background meant he treated pileups like a personal challenge. In the Bandit documentary, he admitted that some of the big police car crashes weren't even in the script. He just set them up to outdo the last wreck. The result was a film packed with driving stunts that felt fun, fast, and dangerous without being grim. It wasn't just a hit. It was the second highest grossing movie of 1977, right behind Star Wars. On a budget of about $4.3 million, it pulled in over $126 million at the US box office. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly $630 million today, about the same as a Marvel blockbuster like Captain America: Civil War or The Batman. For a car chase comedy with no special effects, that's staggering. More than just making money, Smokey and the Bandit turned the Trans Am into a pop culture icon, boosted CB radio sales, and cemented Burt Reynolds' status as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Very few car chase films since have managed to be both a cultural phenomenon and a box office giant. Number 8. White Lightning, 1973. Burt Reynolds again, this time as a moonshine runner in a Ford Custom 500. The dirt road chases were filmed in rural Arkansas with local drivers acting as police. Stunt coordinator Hal Needham, before Bandits, had to rebuild cars nightly after frame damage from landing jumps on uneven roads. The water chase, where Reynolds' car hits a riverbank and launches, was so risky that insurance tried to cancel the stunt the morning of the shoot. Needham did it anyway, using a safety boat downstream in case the car flipped. Number 9. The Driver, 1978. Ryan O'Neal as an unnamed getaway driver in a minimalist, noir-style crime film. The parking lot sequence is all about control. Tight turns, precision drifts, and the echo of tires in concrete tunnels. Director Walter Hill filmed it with no music, just engine and rubber. Hill was inspired by European rally driving footage and wanted the audience to hear the chase like they were in the car. In film worker interviews, stunt drivers said the garage scenes were more dangerous than the street scenes because low ceilings meant no room for error on jumps or spins. Number 10. Mad Max, 1979. Before Mad Max became a multi-million-dollar franchise, it was a scrappy, low-budget Australian revenge story that looked and felt dangerous because it was. Director George Miller, then a former doctor with almost no filmmaking experience, shot it with a handful of stunt drivers, modified Ford Falcons, and Holden Monaros, and a production team that couldn't afford much more than fuel and spare tires. They had no stunt permits, so most of the road scenes were filmed guerrilla style on active public highways around Melbourne. The infamous Knight Rider chase at the start? That was filmed at speeds over 100 miles per hour with no crash barriers, no police escorts, and regular traffic occasionally in the mix. Drivers relied on spotters with CB radios to warn them if someone was coming the other way. The final pursuit with the Black Interceptor was just as raw. Every crash was done for real, and most were one-take shots because the cars couldn't be rebuilt. Once you wrecked it, that was it. In the documentary Madness of Max, Miller admits they sometimes borrowed cars from junkyards, painted them up for filming, then quietly towed the wrecks back the same night. The budget was so thin that some crew members doubled as actors, and the film's sound was almost entirely re-recorded later because the on-set audio was unusable over the roar of the engines. Now compare that to the 2015 reboot, Mad Max Fury Road. While Fury Road also avoided heavy CGI in favor of practical stunts, it had a budget of around $150 million, a massive safety crew, and a closed-road desert set in Namibia. Vehicles were custom-built from the ground up, every jump and collision was rehearsed, and drivers had safety rigs and medical teams on standby. The end result was spectacular and technically brilliant, but it was tightly controlled chaos, not the barely legal guerrilla filmmaking of 1979. That's why the original still feels different. It's lean, improvised, and unpredictable. A film where you can sense the crew making it up as they go. and where every frame carries the risk that something could have gone horribly wrong. In an age of overproduced action, Mad Max reminds you what true cinematic danger looks like. Number 11. The Gumball Rally, 1976. A fictionalized version of the real Cannonball Baker's Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash. A Ferrari Daytona and a Shelby Cobra blast across America, filmed on location without much traffic control. Director Chuck Bale, as stuntman himself, let drivers improvise passes and drifts for authenticity. In Stuntman's Gumball, Bale recalls one highway scene in Arizona where the Cobra actually passed a state trooper, who laughed it off after learning it was for a movie. Number 12. Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, 1974. Clint Eastwood and Jeff Bridges pulling a getaway in a 1973 Dodge Polara weaving through Montana backroads. Michael Cimino shot much of it with long lenses, so it feels like you're spying on a real escape. The cars were ex-police units bought cheap from auction and modified for extra power. In one scene, Eastwood drives inches from a wooden fence at high speed. Cimino later said they had no stunt double for Clint that day. It's him doing the real driving, and yes, the fence was one miscalculation away from splintering into the car. You'll never see chases like this again. Not because the cars are gone, but because the risks are. Back then, a stunt was a gamble. If it went wrong, there was no "we'll fix it in post." You either nailed it or you wrecked the car, and maybe yourself. That's why these moments still feel alive decades later. They weren't safe, they weren't clean, and that's exactly why we remember them. Which one's your favorite? Or did we miss one that should have made the cut? Let us know in the comments.